right? So we're thinking in what I want to think of as volumetric modes, and we're thinking that volumes are measured unit by unit by unit. So the first question we're going to ask ourselves is how useful this idea is, because there are things where, for example, I know I don't think on the margin. If my doctor tells me that I have to take 2 pills a day, 3 times a day, I don't think by the extra pill. I don't decide 1 pill more, 1 pill less, how much for the 6th pill, how much for the 4th pill. I think in terms of 2 pills a day, 3 times a day. I think in terms of an actual, complete volume of product. I don't actually think in terms of margins. Similarly with, say, something like cars, I don't actually think in terms of the next quarter of a car. How much would you pay for half a house? How much would you pay for a quarter yard in a house? How much would you pay for a fifth of a room? There might be places where you do not make decisions at that unit level. 1 more, 2 more. In those places, we're going to have to think through how decision making operates. Sometimes it doesn't operate like this. This goes back to my question about how comfortable are you with this idea of utils or utility or decision making and rationality of people thinking of 1 unit more, 1 unit more, 1 unit more. Sometimes we don't think like that. But for lots of things, we do. So the first thing we need to know is that marginality is a really smart concept. It's not a concept that applies to everything, and it's a concept that occasionally we're going to say, it doesn't work that way. But for some important things, including, by the way, pretty serious things like labor market, how many hours do you want to work this week? Do you want to work 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours? Many of us do make decisions by the hour when we talk to our workplace managers, right? I got exams this week. I don't know. I got childcare issues. Maybe I'll work 1 more hour, but I don't think I want to work 3 more hours, right? We actually do make pretty serious decisions, including how many hours to work, how much basic necessities like food to buy on the margin. Some units are not divisible so easily. Transport. I mean, if I was in a place with good public transport, I could think of the extra bus ride. Maybe with Uber, Lyft, I can think about the extra lift. But often if I'm thinking of actually acquiring household capital goods, I'm not probably going to think of a quarter room or half a car, right? So there's places where it applies. And it turns out many of the places it applies are pretty massive. So major markets often operate with decision making by households and by firms on the margin. And the idea of marginality is that I'm operating unit by unit by unit. I'm asking myself, how much am I getting from this extra unit on the margin? Extra, next. How much am I benefiting from this extra unit? Extra, next on the margin. And how much am I going to give up? Opportunity cost to get it. If what I get from that extra unit is more, if the marginal return, whether it's utility, revenue, whatever, if the marginal utility, the marginal return to that extra next unit exceeds the marginal opportunity cost, whether it is from households who are like, what else can I spend the money on? Which is essentially the price of the good. That's what you're paying for it, and that's what you can say, hey, instead of paying so much for that apple, I can put that money somewhere else. Or it could be marginal costs from a producer's idea. What you're thinking in marginal terms is this next unit. How much am I getting from it? How much is it going to cost, opportunity cost me, next unit. And if I benefit, I will do it. I will buy that next unit. I will produce that next unit. So marginality is a concept that I'm going to use for both the demand and the supply side. So the demand side, I've been using marginal utility. On the supply side, I'm going to use marginal revenue and marginal cost. But in each case, my decision making is this idea that I'm going unit by unit by unit. For a lot of things in our life, that works really well. And if we feel that what is being captured in utility, marginal utility, or in marginal cost, how much is it going to cost you as a firm? So we feel that the cost for a firm actually capture things like environment, this, that, and the other. It's a really good system. So a lot of the queries are not going to be at the level of, do people do this? It's going to be more at the level of, is doing it this way either a good description of what people do? Or B, are there, and we'll come to this in the third section, externalities, public goods, impacts on other people, failures of equilibrium, where this way of decision making doesn't work. So just remember, there's a social environment in which decision making happens, competitive markets, and there is a behavioral decision making process. And that behavioral decision making process we're going to call marginality. Our next unit will apply this, which you already learned for the consumer, to firms. And we're going to see how firms also use marginal decision making. Thank you.